Step into the world of The Haunting of Wraithwood Hollow, a narrative masterpiece by StoryWave.ai. Engage with us by liking, sharing, and subscribing for daily doses of imagination. Chapter 1. Whispers in the Woods. In the heart of the Rocky Mountains, shrouded in the enigma of towering pines and whispering winds, lay Wraithwood Hollow, a place where the earth held secrets and the shadows danced on their own. Nathan, with his compass tattoo reflecting his adventurous spirit, led his eclectic band of friends into the embrace of the wilderness. Behind him, Eli, with his signature red bandana, lightheartedly hummed a tune, breaking the silence that the dense forest imposed. Lena, her blue eyes scanning the environment, scribbled thoughts in her journal, capturing the essence of their journey. Olivia, her pendant glinting in the sporadic sunlight that filtered through the leaves, checked her GPS, confirming their path with a frown of concentration. Marcus, ever the courageous soul, aimed his camcorder at the muted colors of the forest, hoping to immortalize the unseen and undiscovered. As they ventured deeper, a sense of being observed crept over them. Nate paused, his gaze sweeping the underbrush. "You feel that? Like we're not alone?" His voice, deep and calm, barely rose above the rustling leaves. Eli chuckled, his green eyes sparkling with mischief. "It's probably just a deer, man, or that wolf spirit animal of yours checking in." Lena looked up from her journal. "I don't know, guys. This place feels alive," she said, her voice a mixture of awe and trepidation. Olivia scoffed, her skepticism a stark difference to Lena's wonder. "The only thing that's alive here is our overactive imaginations," she said, her voice measured yet laced with doubt. The group stumbled upon an unsettling scene, a set of large, unexplainable footprints etched into the damp earth. Marcus's eyes widened with a mix of excitement and disbelief. "Would you look at that? That's no deer print," he exclaimed, his voice booming with a blend of intrigue and audacity. Nate knelt beside the peculiar tracks, his brown eyes narrowing. "Whatever made these is big. But let's not jump to conclusions," he cautioned, his practical nature surfacing amidst the mystery. As dusk approached, they set up camp, the crackling fire casting long, dancing shadows against the trees. The forest's nocturnal symphony began, a haunting melody of creaks and calls. Marcus, driven by the prospect of capturing something extraordinary, ventured to the edge of the campsite, his camcorder's red recording light a solitary balefire in the twilight. "EJ, you hear that?" Marcus whispered, his voice barely audible over the chorus of the woods. Eli strained his ears. "Sounds like whispers," he replied, his usual jovial tone replaced by a hint of concern. The night air was thick with the unspoken fear that something was lurking just beyond the veil of darkness. Lena glanced at Olivia, seeking reassurance, but found her friend's usual logical armor pierced by the uncertainty of the unknown. Marcus, emboldened by his desire to unveil the secrets of Wraithwood Hollow, pressed on. "I'm going to check it out. This could be the footage of a lifetime," he declared, his adventurous spirit undeterred. "Liv, you think that's wise?" Lena asked, her voice tinged with anxiety. Olivia hesitated, her hazel eyes reflecting the flickering flames. "Just be careful, Marcus. We don't know what's out there," she replied, her skepticism momentarily giving way to concern. As the group settled into their tents, the whispers of the woods crescendoed into an unsettling serenade. Their dreams were filled with the unknown, and the forest watched, silent and waiting, as the creature of Wraithwood Hollow drew ever closer, its presence an omen of the harrowing tale that was to unfold. Chapter 2. Ominous Encounters. A chill morning mist clung to Wraithwood Hollow as the sun peeked through the dense canopy, casting a mosaic of light and shadow on the forest floor. Nathan's keen eyes scanned the horizon, his instincts as a wildlife photographer sensing the subtle shifts in the natural order around them. The group, their breath visible in the cool air, trudged forward, their boots sinking into the soft earth with each step. Eli, his humor a shield against the growing unease, tried to lighten the mood. "So what's for breakfast, folks? Shredded wheat or shredded tents?" he quipped, a nervous laugh escaping his lips. Lena, her journal tucked away, peered at the chaotic scene before them. "This isn't funny, EJ. Something bad happened here," she said, her voice low and serious. The remnants of an unknown hiker's camp lay in tatters, the gear torn apart with brute force. The tent collapsed as though crushed by an immense weight. Olivia, her logical mind racing for explanations, examined the debris. Could be a bear, she suggested, though her hazel eyes betrayed her doubt. Marcus stepped over a mangled sleeping bag, his gray eyes alight with a mix of fear and fascination. Or something much, much bigger, he countered, his voice tinged with excitement rather than concern. Nathan crouched beside a swath of claw marks etched into a nearby tree. These aren't any bear marks I've ever seen, he murmured, the compass on his arm seemingly pointing him toward the truth. The group huddled together, the reality of their situation sinking in. Lena's supportive nature surfaced as she reached out to Nate. Should we head back? We're not prepared for. Whatever did this, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Eli rubbed his goatee in thought, his green eyes darting around the ravaged site. I don't know about you guys, but I didn't sign up for a horror movie, he admitted, the levity gone from his tone. Olivia folded her arms, her measured voice cutting through the tension. We need to make a decision, and fast. Staying here isn't safe, and neither is going deeper into the woods, she stated, her feet planted firmly on the ground. Marcus, with unwavering determination, shouldered his camcorder. We can't turn back now. Think about it. This is the story of a lifetime. We have to find out what's out there, he urged, his adventurous spirit refusing to be quelled. Nathan stood, his deep voice carrying a note of authority. If we're continuing, we do it carefully. No heroics, Marcus. We stick together, he said, his words resonating with the weight of their collective survival. As they pressed on, a sense of foreboding hung over the group, like the heavy branches that obscured the sky. The forest seemed to watch them with unseen eyes, and the whispers of the woods from the night before now felt like a warning unheeded. Eli's attempt at a tune now faltered, his fingers absent-mindedly adjusting the red fabric around his neck. Lena's hand hovered over her journal, but the words wouldn't come. Olivia clutched her pendant, the metal cold against her skin. Marcus's gaze flitted between the viewfinder of his camcorder and the shadowy depths of the forest. And Nathan, his wolf-like instincts on high alert, led them deeper into the heart of Wraithwood Hollow, where the unknown awaited with bated breath. Chapter 3: Shadows Amongst the Pines. The dense foliage of Wraithwood Hollow seemed to close in around them, a verdant labyrinth that held whispered tales of the unknown. Sunlight struggled to pierce the thick canopy, casting a gloomy light on the forest floor. It was in this dimness that Marcus caught a glimpse of something extraordinary, a hulking figure, a fleeting shadow that moved with purpose amongst the pines. Guys, did you see that? Marcus's voice pierced the forest's quiet as he pointed his camcorder in the direction of the mysterious apparition. Nate, his black hair slightly disheveled from the hike, squinted toward where Marcus gestured. See what, Marcus? I don't see anything but trees, he said, a frown creasing his brow. There, Marcus insisted, rewinding the footage on his camcorder's small screen. I caught it. I caught something. Eli, his red bandana now a stark opposition against the muted greens and browns of their surroundings, tried to muster a joke. What the forest boogeyman? Come on, Marcus. You're just shaking the camera. Lena peered over Marcus's shoulder, her blue eyes searching the blurry images for clarity. That could be anything, Marcus. It's too hard to tell, she said, her usual enthusiasm dampened by the uncertainty. Olivia, her pendant swinging gently as she leaned in, snorted at the footage. That's not proof of anything except bad camera work. It's probably just another hiker or a bear, she declared, her skepticism undiminished by the others' mounting concern. The group bunched together, the undercurrent of fear mingling with the natural sounds of the forest. Nate ran a hand through his hair, trying to make sense of the situation. We need to stay calm. If there's something out there, panicking won't help, he said, his deep voice striving to ground the group. Eli's attempt at humor fell flat, his green eyes flickering with unease. Yeah, because calm is exactly what I feel when we're talking about Sasquatch sightings, he said, the sarcasm failing to veil his anxiety. Lena shot Eli a look, her own nerves on edge. This isn't the time for jokes, EJ. We have to decide what to do next, she urged, her tone serious. Marcus, undeterred by the group's mixed reactions, zoomed in on the footage, his gray eyes reflecting the screen's glow. Look here. See? There's definitely a figure. And it's big, he said, his voice a mix of fear and thrill. Olivia crossed her arms, her measured voice echoing her disbelief. It's a hoax, Marcus. You're seeing what you want to see, she reasoned, trying to inject logic into the conversation. The group's debate grew heated as they grappled with the reality of their situation. The idea of a Sasquatch in Wraithwood Hollow divided them, each clinging to their own beliefs and fears. Nate, with his innate connection to the wild, couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. Lena, her journal forgotten, struggled to maintain the group's cohesion. Eli's humor had lost its light, replaced by a nervous energy that he couldn't dispel with quips. Olivia clung to her skepticism, a lifeline in the face of the unknown. And Marcus, his ambition burning bright, saw only the opportunity that lay before them. As the shadows grew longer and the forest's whispers turned to murmurs, the group packed up their gear, their next steps uncertain. The sibylline presence of the creature among the pines had planted a seed of dread that would grow with each passing hour, its roots entwining with their fate in the haunting embrace of Wraithwood Hollow. Chapter 4. The Watcher in the Woods. The dusk descended upon Wraithwood Hollow like a thick velvet curtain, muting the colors of the day into monochrome whispers of the night. The campfire crackled, casting an eerie glow on the faces of Nate, Eli, Olivia, Lena, and Marcus as they huddled close, the chill of the mountain air seeping into their bones. Eli broke the silence with a forced chuckle, his attempt to ease the tension evident in his strained voice. You know, if we ever get out of here, I'm sticking to indoor hobbies, like knitting. Nate, with the firelight reflecting off his compass tattoo, glanced around the campsite, his eyes landing on the empty space where their food supplies should have been. It's not just about hobbies now, EJ. Our gear's gone missing. Food, supplies. This is serious. Lena flipped through the pages of her journal, her blue eyes darting between the scribbled notes and the group. It's like whatever's out there is toying with us, watching our every move, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Olivia snorted, her skepticism still holding strong despite the mounting evidence. Or maybe it's just raccoons. They're crafty little thieves, you know. Marcus, his eyes wide with the thrill of the chase, shook his head. Raccoons don't have eyes that glow in the dark. I saw them last night, watching us from the trees. And I heard it too, strange sounds that no raccoon could ever make. The group exchanged uneasy glances, the reality of their situation settling in like a heavy fog. Nate's deep voice cut through the night air. We can't keep dismissing this. There's something out here with us, something we can't explain. Eli pulled his red bandana tighter around his head, a feeble attempt at comfort. I'm usually all for a good mystery, but this is like living in one of those old campfire stories. Except we're the clueless campers. Lena's hand trembled as she jotted down another observation. Patterns, she murmured. I'm seeing patterns in the journal. It's like the creature knows our schedule when we're most vulnerable. Olivia leaned in, her hazel eyes reflecting the flicker of the flames. Let's say, hypothetically, there is a Sasquatch. What then? Do we just pack up and leave our chance at discovering something incredible? Marcus gripped his camcorder like a lifeline. We stick it out. This is more than just a discovery, Liv. It's proof. We could change everything we know about the natural world. Nate ran a hand through his hair, his brown eyes serious. Or we could get seriously hurt. We're not dealing with a docile creature here. We're talking about a potential predator. The fire popped, sending sparks into the night sky as the group sat in contemplation. The forest seemed to lean in closer, listening, the darkness teeming with secrets and the unknown. And somewhere, hidden amongst the towering pines, the watcher in the woods observed with glowing eyes, its silent presence a looming specter over the weary travelers. As the night pressed on, their conviction wavered, the thin veneer of bravado crumbling to reveal the raw edge of fear. Wraithwood Hollow held them in its grasp, and the Sasquatch, the inscrutable guardian of these woods, bided its time, each moment drawing the group deeper into its haunting narrative. Chapter 5. The Path Forgotten. Clouds, heavy and ominous, crept over the skyline of Wraithwood Hollow, smothering the sun's warmth with a promise of an impending deluge. The group trudged along a narrow, overgrown path that Nathan swore he remembered from his map, but with each step, the trail seemed less familiar, more sinister, as if the forest itself were reshaping its contours behind them. Eli, his bandana now soaked with sweat and rain, tried to keep spirits high. At least we don't need to worry about staying hydrated, right? His voice, usually bright with humor, was tinged with fatigue. Nathan halted, his black hair plastered to his forehead, as he peered at the GPS device in Olivia's hands, which flickered uncertainly. This storm is messing with the signal. I thought this was the right way, but everything looks different now. Lena, her journal protected beneath her rain jacket, glanced around at the towering pines swaying ominously. We've been walking in circles, she realized aloud, her heart sinking. Marcus, who had been quiet for much of the hike, stopped filming to preserve his camcorder's battery. We can't keep going like this. We need to find shelter and figure out a plan. His voice carried the weight of their collective concern. Olivia, usually the voice of reason, struggled to hide her frustration. Nate, you said you knew these woods, she accused, her tone sharper than intended. Nathan's deep voice was laced with regret. I thought I did, Liv. I'm sorry. This storm came out of nowhere. As the rain intensified, soaking through their clothes and chilling them to the bone, Eli stepped forward. All right, listen up, he began, his green eyes scanning their surroundings. We need to find higher ground, away from any flash floods. Then we need to make a shelter, something to keep us dry. Marcus nodded, his usual bravado replaced with a nod of respect. EJ's right. We'll figure this out together. Lena, shivering in the cold, managed a small smile. Eli, I didn't know you had it in you. Eli managed a wry grin. Chef by trade, survivalist by weekend binge-watching. The group, now united in purpose, followed Eli's lead. They scrambled up a slippery slope, the mud clinging to their boots until they found a rocky outcrop that offered a modicum of shelter. They worked together, gathering branches and leaves to construct a makeshift barrier against the wind and rain. As night fell and the storm raged on, the group huddled together, their supplies dwindling along with their hope of an easy escape from the mountain's grasp. The eerie howl of the wind through the trees sounded almost like laughter, mocking their predicament. In the fleeting moments of calm, the darkness beyond their shelter seemed to press in on them, and the sensation of being watched returned with a vengeance. The forest was alive with the presence of the creature that stalked them, its unseen eyes ever watchful, ever waiting. In the heart of Wraithwood Hollow, beneath the storm's furious symphony, the group faced not only the wrath of nature, but the growing dread of the unknown that lurked just beyond the veil of rain and shadow. Chapter 6. Echoes of a Predator. The first light of dawn revealed the group's overnight efforts, a patchwork of defenses encircling their campsite. Branches were fashioned into spikes, and ropes stretched between trees in a web of makeshift snares. They had worked through the night, hands raw from the cold and labor, to secure a semblance of safety in the heart of Wraithwood Hollow. Nate surveyed their work with a critical eye. This might buy us some time, but it's not foolproof. Everyone needs to stay alert. Eli, his face smudged with dirt and exhaustion, tried to inject his usual humor into the grim atmosphere. Well, if this whole situation doesn't work out, we've got a future in wilderness home security. Lena, clutching her journal like a talisman, scanned the tree line. I don't know about you, but I didn't get any sleep. Every snap of a branch had me thinking it was here. Marcus, his camcorder ever at the ready, barely acknowledged the bags under his eyes. It's going to show up. I can feel it. And when it does, I'll be ready to record every second. Olivia folded her arms, her gaze lingering on the traps. We're not hunters, Marcus. What if someone gets hurt because of these? The day passed in an uneasy lull, the forest around them eerily quiet, as if holding its breath. When night descended, it brought a palpable tension that settled over the camp like a thick fog. As the hours crept by, the group's vigilance wavered under the weight of fatigue. Then, without warning, the silence was shattered by a bone-chilling roar that echoed through the trees, sending a jolt of terror through everyone's spine. Marcus sprang to his feet, his eyes wild with adrenaline. It's here. This is it. Nate grabbed his arm, pulling him back. Wait, Marcus. It could be dangerous. But Marcus was undeterred, his obsession with capturing the creature driving him toward the source of the sound. I have to get this on film. It's now or never. Eli clutched a fallen branch, his usual bravado replaced by fear. Marcus, come back! This isn't worth your life. Lena scribbled furiously in her journal, her hands shaking. We need to stay together. If it can make that kind of noise, it can do much worse. Olivia, usually the voice of reason, found herself paralyzed by the ferocity of the roar. We need a plan. We can't let it pick us off one by one. The camp erupted into chaos as the creature made its presence known, circling the perimeter, testing their defenses. Branches snapped under its weight, and the ground trembled with its footsteps. Nate directed the group. Keep close. Don't let it out of your sight. Eli swung his makeshift weapon, a desperate attempt to ward off the unseen attacker. Get away from us. Marcus, camera raised, stumbled backward as the creature loomed into view, a towering mass of fur and muscle, its eyes reflecting the moonlight with an otherworldly glow. The traps sprung to life, ensnaring the creature with a series of thuds and groans, but it was far from defeated. With a show of strength, it tore through the ropes, the spikes splintering like matchsticks under its might. Lena's voice broke through the commotion. It's too strong. The traps can't hold it. In the ensuing struggle, the group's unity fractured under the pressure of survival. Marcus, driven by his need to document the terror of Wraithwood Hollow, continued to film, even as the creature bore down on them. Nate, acting on instinct, pulled his friends back toward the relative safety of the rocky outcrop. Retreat. Get to higher ground. As the creature's roars filled the night, mingling with the group's shouts and the clash of their makeshift defenses, the reality of their plight became clear. They were not the hunters in this domain, but the hunted. And in Wraithwood Hollow, the echoes of a predator's call were a grim reminder that the forest was no longer theirs to control. Chapter 7. The Fallen Camper. A veil of silence cloaked Wraithwood Hollow in the aftermath of the night's terror, broken only by the whisper of leaves brushing against each other in a sorrowful dance. The first rays of the sun were not of warmth, but of revelation, illuminating the grim reality of the night's ordeal. Eli's voice, once a balefire of levity, now carried the weight of the grave situation. This can't be happening. Marcus, he was just here. His words stumbled over the shock that had seized his throat. Nate, his eyes a mirror of the group's torment, set his jaw as he looked at the camera Marcus had left behind. The device lay discarded on the forest floor, its lens cracked, a silent witness to its owner's last moments. Lena, her hands trembling, reached for the camera, her movements mechanical. We need to see what it recorded. It's what he would have wanted, she said, her voice hollow, echoing the void left by their friend's absence. Olivia, her skepticism now a shattered facade, nodded in agreement. Turn it on, Lena. We have to know. We have to see. The group huddled around the small screen as Lena pressed the playback button. The footage was shaky, a chaotic blend of leaves and sky, but then the frame steadied, and the figure of Marcus appeared, his eyes wide with a mixture of fear and awe. The camera captured his final words, his voice filled with a desperate kind of excitement. It's here. I see it. It's real, Marcus whispered, his final testament before the screen erupted into a frenzy of movement and an earth-shattering roar. The video ended abruptly, leaving the group in stunned silence, the reality of their situation pressing down on them like the onerous weight of the towering pines. Nate was the first to break the silence, his voice steady but his hands betraying a slight tremor. We can't stay here. We have to move, find a way out before it comes back. Eli, his face pale, swallowed hard. Yeah, Nate's right. We need to put as much distance between us and this place as we can. Lena closed her eyes for a moment, a silent prayer for Marcus, before she inured herself with a commitment born of necessity. Let's pack up whatever is left. We're sitting ducks out here. Olivia, her eyes fixed on the path ahead, clenched her fists. We're going to make it out of here. For Marcus, we owe him that much. As they dismantled the camp with hasty movements, each rustle in the underbrush sent a jolt of fear through their hearts. The forest had claimed one of their own, and they knew the Sasquatch was still out there, somewhere amongst the dense foliage, watching, waiting. The group set out, their path winding through the heart of the mountain, every step a test of their will to survive. The haunting of Wraithwood Hollow had taken a grim turn, and the remaining campers knew that their fight against the creature stalking them was far from over. It was a fight not just for survival, but for the memory of the fallen camper who had dreamed of capturing the unknown, only to become a part of its unexplainable lore. Chapter 8. Breathless Pursuit. The forest of Wraithwood Hollow became a blur of emerald and umber as Nate, Eli, Olivia, and Lena sprinted through its tangled web of undergrowth and towering pines. Their breaths came in ragged gasps, each exhale a cloud in the chilling air, and the thunderous footsteps of the Sasquatch pounded behind them like the relentless beat of a war drum. Nate, his athletic build pushing through the brush, called over his shoulder, "Keep moving. Don't look back." Eli's face was streaked with the marks of the wilderness as he dodged low-hanging branches. "I never knew I could run this fast," he panted, his usual jests buried beneath the urgency of their flight. Olivia's skepticism had vanished like the mist at dawn, replaced by a sharp instinct to survive. Her voice was steady, despite the fear that clutched at her. There, to the right, a clearing. Lena's eyes, once filled with the thrill of adventure, now scanned the environment with a focus born of desperation. "We can lose it in the open. It's our best chance." The clearing opened up before them, a sudden expanse of grass and wildflowers that seemed incongruous amidst the dense forest. They burst into the open space, their eyes searching for any sign of the creature. Nate, leading the charge, spotted a rocky outcropping on the far side of the meadow. "Head for the rocks. We can climb and get a better view," he commanded, the compass tattoo on his arm glistening with sweat. Eli's breaths were heavy, his survival skills now a distant memory as he focused solely on the present threat. "Yeah, and maybe throw some rocks at it while we're at it," he suggested, his humor fighting to resurface. Olivia glanced back, her hazel eyes wide as she saw the Sasquatch emerge from the tree line, its silhouette massive and imposing against the morning light. "It's still coming. What does it want from us?" Lena clutched her journal to her chest, the pages filled with notes that now seemed trivial. "I don't know, but I don't want to find out." The scramble up the rocky slope was treacherous, loose stones giving way beneath their feet. They reached the top, chests heaving, and peered down at the expanse below. The Sasquatch halted at the edge of the clearing, its deep-set eyes locking onto theirs. It let out a low, guttural sound that vibrated through the air, a sound of warning, of challenge. Nate's voice was resolute, masking the fear that threatened to overtake him. "We need a plan. It's just waiting for us to come down." Eli picked up a hefty rock, weighing it in his hand. "Well, we can't stay up here forever. Maybe we can. I don't know, distracted or something?" Olivia's analytical mind raced, her previous disbelief now a distant memory. "We have to outsmart it. It's been tracking us, but maybe we can turn the tables." Lena, her fingers gripping the edges of her journal, looked to Nate. "You're the wildlife expert. Have you ever heard of anything like this?" Nate shook his head, his deep voice tinged with frustration. "No, this is beyond anything I've encountered. But one thing's for sure, we can't outrun it forever." The Sasquatch's gaze never wavered, its presence a suffocating force that held them captive atop the outcropping. As the group huddled together, formulating a plan with the scant resources they had, the creature of Wraithwood Hollow watched and waited, its breathless pursuit a covenant to the primal dance of predator and prey. Chapter 9. The Mountain's Fury. Perched on the edge of a precipice, the ancient cliffside ruins of Wraithwood Hollow stood as silent sentinels to the desperation of Nate, Eli, Olivia, and Lena. The stones, weathered by time and cloaked in moss, held the secrets of ages past and now bore witness to a modern tale of survival. Eli, his face smeared with the grime of the wild, peered over at the encroaching shadow of the Sasquatch. "This is it, guys. Nowhere else to run." Nate, his black hair tangled with leaves, studied the layout of the ruins. "We make our stand here. These old walls have to be good for something." Lena, her blue eyes scanning the ancient stones, nodded in agreement. "We can use this. It's like a maze. Maybe we can confuse it, get the upper hand." Olivia, her skepticism long forgotten, clutched a hefty branch as her makeshift weapon. "I just hope it's not as smart as we are. Or smarter." The friends set to work with fervent haste, arranging the debris and rocks to create a labyrinth within the ruins, a trap for the formidable predator that had haunted their every step. Nate's voice echoed against the stone walls. "Remember, it's all about misdirection. We need to be one step ahead." Eli let out a breath, trying to steady his nerves. "Yeah, like a game of cat and mouse. Except I really don't enjoy being the mouse." Lena, her journal now filled with more plans than observations, pointed to a narrow passageway. "That's our choke point. We'll lead it through there." Olivia tightened her grip on the branch, her voice firm. "And then we bring the walls down. We'll bury it in rubble." The sun dipped low on the horizon, casting the ruins into a tapestry of light and shadow as the Sasquatch approached, its every step a thunderous promise of the mountain's fury. Nate signaled to his friends, his brown eyes locked on the advancing silhouette. "Now! Lead it through!" Eli dashed into the ruins, his red bandana a flash of color against the gray stone. "Come on, you big furball! Chase me!" The Sasquatch roared, a sound that shook the very earth beneath them, and followed Eli into the treacherous pathways the group had crafted. Lena and Olivia moved with precision, darting behind columns and over fallen arches, guiding the creature toward the trap. Nate waited, his heart pounding in his chest, for the perfect moment to strike. As the Sasquatch neared the designated spot, he gave the signal. Olivia and Lena pushed against a precariously balanced boulder, sending it crashing down into the passageway, just as the Sasquatch lumbered through. The creature roared in surprise and fury as the stones cascaded around it, dust billowing into the air, and the sound of crashing rocks echoing through Wraithwood Hollow. When the dust settled, the group approached cautiously, peering at the pile of rubble that now imprisoned the Sasquatch. It was still, for the moment, but they knew it wouldn't be for long. Olivia let out a shaky breath. "We did it. We actually did it." Nate nodded, his gaze never leaving the rubble. "We need to move, find our way out while we can." They turned their backs on the ruins, the setting sun painting the sky in hues of fire and blood. The mountain's fury had been met with the courage of those who refused to succumb to the shadows of fear. As they descended the mountain's slope, the ruins stood as a monument to their ordeal, and the once menacing growls of the Sasquatch were now but echoes in the wind. A climactic showdown that would forever be etched into the lore of Wraithwood Hollow. Chapter 10. Out of the Shadows. The first rays of a gentle dawn caressed the rugged face of Wraithwood Hollow, painting a serene picture that belied the turmoil of the night before. Nate, Eli, Olivia, and Lena emerged from the forest's edge, their figures weary but determined, as they stepped into the clearing that marked the end of their harrowing journey. Lena, her journal clutched against her chest, was the first to break the silence. "I can't believe we made it," she said, her voice a soft murmur against the morning stillness. Eli, his red bandana now a faded remnant of its former vibrancy, glanced back at the receding tree line. "Do you think it's still back there?" His question hung in the air, unanswered but acknowledged by all. Nate, his compass tattoo a stark reminder of their path, looked ahead with a sense of purpose. "Whether it is or isn't, we did what we had to do. We survived, and that's what counts." Olivia, her practical nature now tinged with the residue of fear, adjusted the makeshift splint on her arm. "Survived, yes. But at what cost? We lost Marcus, and we've lost a part of ourselves in those woods." The group trudged on, the promise of safety spurring their tired legs forward. As they approached the boundary of civilization, the sounds of the forest faded, replaced by the distant hum of a world oblivious to their ordeal. A small town came into view, its quaint houses and the smoke rising from chimneys a marked difference to the untamed wilderness behind them. The townsfolk, emerging to start their day, stopped and stared at the disheveled group, making their way down the main street. Eli tried to offer a weak smile to a woman who brought her hand to her mouth in shock. "Morning," he said, his voice lacking its usual spark. "You wouldn't happen to know where we could get a decent meal, would you?" Nate, his face lined with the fatigue of leadership, stepped into a small diner that seemed to welcome them with the promise of warmth and comfort. "4 of your strongest coffees, please," he said to the bewildered waitress, "and whatever food you've got ready." As they settled into a booth, the waitress, a kind-faced woman in her 50s, approached with a pot of coffee. "You folks look like you've been through hell and back," she commented, pouring the steaming liquid into their cups. Lena, her fingers wrapped around the warmth of the mug, allowed herself a moment to absorb the normalcy of the scene. "You could say that. We've been lost in the woods for days." Olivia, her voice steady despite the wariness in her eyes, addressed the group. "We'll need to talk to the authorities, tell them about Marcus. They'll want to know everything." The conversation turned to the practicalities of their return to the world, But beneath the discussion lay a shared understanding that their experience would forever haunt them. The Sasquatch, the creature that had stalked them through the shadows of Wraithwood Hollow, might have been left behind, but the echoes of its presence would linger in their memories. As the group recounted their story to the local sheriff, a man with a skeptical brow and a notepad ready in hand, they realized that their tale sounded fantastical, even to their own ears. Yet the truth of their loss, the absence of their friend, spoke volumes beyond any doubt. The sun climbed higher in the sky, casting light on the reality that they had stepped out of the shadows and into a world that would never understand their fear, their loss, or the depths of the unknown they had faced. But together, they found solace in the shared bond that only those who have glimpsed the edge of the wild can truly know. Chapter 11: The Echoes We Leave Behind. The morning sun rose over the sleepy town that bordered the vast wilderness of Wraithwood Hollow, casting long shadows and bathing the small community in a golden light. In the heart of the town, Nate, Eli, Olivia, and Lena sat in a crowded room filled with the buzz of eager reporters and curious locals, their eyes all expectant for the tale that was about to unfold. Nate leaned into the microphone, his voice strong despite the weariness in his eyes. "We went into the woods as friends, looking for adventure, but what we found was something we could never have imagined." Eli ran a hand through his blonde hair, his green eyes scanning the room. "Yeah, we found something all right. Something that's been living in those woods long before any of us got there." Olivia interjected, her measured tone a contrast to Eli's raw edge. "We know it's hard to believe. We wouldn't believe it ourselves if we hadn't seen it with our own eyes." Lena's fingers fidgeted with the edge of her journal, the pages filled with notes that now seemed like relics of a different life. "We lost a dear friend out there. This isn't just some story, it's our reality." Murmurs filled the room as the crowd digested their words. Some faces showed doubt, others fear, and a few nodded with a grim understanding. A man at the back called out, his voice skeptical. "Sounds like a hoax to me. How do we know you're telling the truth?" Eli's response was tinged with frustration. "You think we'd make this up? After what we've been through?" Nate raised a hand, silencing Eli. "We don't have proof, not the kind that would convince everyone, but we know what we saw, and we'll carry that with us for the rest of our lives." The press conference ended with more questions than answers, the group's story spreading like wildfire through the town and beyond. Some called it a warning, a tale of nature's untamed power. Others dismissed it as a clever ruse, a story concocted for attention or fame. In the days that followed, Nate, Eli, Olivia, and Lena found themselves at a crossroads, each dealing with the aftermath in their own way. They visited Marcus's family, offering condolences and sharing memories of a man whose passion for the unknown had led him to a tragic fate. As they went their separate ways, the echo of Wraithwood Hollow followed them, a whisper in their minds that never quite faded. They returned to their lives, but the shadow of the forest loomed large, an indelible mark upon their souls. The final scene unfolded not in the town, but back within the shrouded confines of the hollow. The perspective shifted, the trees towering above, the underbrush a carpet beneath massive feet. The Sasquatch stood in the quiet of the woods, its deep-set eyes watching the distant figures of the humans as they left its domain. It let out a low, rumbling sound, a call that resonated through the trees and turned back into the heart of the forest, where the secrets of Wraithwood Hollow remained guarded by the whispers of the pines and the echoes we leave behind. The mystery of the Sasquatch's existence endured, a tale of the wilderness that would continue to inspire fear, curiosity, and wonder in the hearts of those who dared to venture into the unknown. The curtain falls on our current tale. Gratitude for being part of the haunting of Wraithwood Hollow with us. Trust in StoryWave AI to transform your creative prompts into compelling stories. Show your support by liking, sharing, and subscribing. Daily stories await to whisk you away. March 2024. Goodbye for now.